edition of Marvel Talk. I am, of course, OLED Ed Fries, and I'm joined by Sir Andre of C, the Andre of all the C's. Andre C there. And of course, we're here. We're both very excited because we're talking about What If, Episode 8, the one we've been waiting for. What If The Avengers Assembled in 1602?
Yeah. Dude, you were right. This was the episode of the season so far. You were right in your thinking of how this was going to be the top episode, probably outside the finale. But dude, this was fucking awesome.
So here's the thing. The reason why I kind of knew 1602 was going to be that big, great episode is because of the fact that, one, it's the episode before the finale. If you remember last year, the penultimate episode last year was What If Ultron won?
Yeah.
So, and that was, by the way, it is by far my favorite episode of the entire season. In season 1. It's episode 8, not episode 9. As great as episode 9 is, I prefer episode 8, just watching Ultron win.
Yeah.
I think that is so good.
It's such a great setup episode that it kind of overshadows the finale.
A little bit. Because the finale feels rushed because of the time frame that they have for these What If episodes. 1602, I think, is going to do the exact same thing. Because they brought out the heavy hitters for 1602. We have Jeffrey Wright back as the Watcher. Hallie Atwell is back as Peggy Carter. Sir Nicholas Fury is Samuel L. Jackson. Elizabeth Olsen is Wanda Merlin. King Thor Odinson is Chris Hemsworth. Loki is played again by Tom Hiddleston. I don't even know a Shakespearean actor who would have to reference here, but I just love the fact that Loki's Tom Hiddleston is
to be
basically
or not to be.
You want to know what's funny?
But the best thing is he fucking did John Lovitz acting. Thank you. He does acting. Thank you. It's fucking John Lovitz.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. In this, what I think is hysterical about this is this Loki doing this gives back a callback to one of my favorite lines from the Avengers. When Tony Stark is fighting Thor and they've captured Loki, and he does "Does mother knoweth she weareth her drapes?" And he talks about it being Shakespeare in the Park. And what are we doing in this episode when it opens up? Shakespeare. They're doing Shakespeare at the Globe. Well, no, at the Globe.
Oh, at the Globe. It's a Globe, but still similar, yeah.
It's not a Globe. It is the Globe. This is the Globe Theater, from the history books. Also, just other actors. Mark Ruffalo come back, play Bruce Banner again. Jon Favreau playing Sir Harold Hogan, the happiest of Hogans. Also playing the Freak, which was fantastic. Sebastian Stan, Paul Rudd have some small appearances in this. We have the almost post-credits scene of Benedict Cumberbatch popping in here. And of course, I know it's weird, but we got to say these three people, they should feel like they're coming back to portray these roles again because they always portray them. Well, exactly. They always portray them when it comes to anything animated with Lake Bell, Josh Keaton, and Mick Winger.
Yeah.
Those three coming back to be Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, and Natasha Romanoff, collectively. Are those characters for anything?
Natasha else? Had like half a line at best. It's just a recap of the last episode of the Captain Carter episode of her going. Cap.
You know what? You get paid just as much for having the recap as you do for everything else.
I understand. I just find it funny.
Yeah. We also have some fun voices from people like Matt Lowe, Terry Douglas, Marcella Pope, and Robert Downs in this episode. It's just additional characters in the episode. But this Avengers team is just... And the best part is it's two different Avengers teams coming together in different ways. So we start this episode with Loki portraying Hamlet in the Globe Theater with the to be or not to be scene. And he's not good. He's doing terribly. And Thor is ridiculing him.
Yeah. He's like, when can we start throwing tomatoes?
Of course, we have Queen Hela. She doesn't say anything in this episode, so she does get no credits because she says nothing. But we do have Kate Blanchett back as Queen Hela in this episode. I would assume it's Kate Blanchett. She's uncredited according to IMDb, but I would assume it's Kate Blanchett.
All it is a scream.
Yeah.
So it could be any voice actor they want just to do a scream. Really.
Remember, when we talk about they could be any actor, when they needed a voice for Throg, they called Helmsworth to do the voice for Throg in the season 1 of Loki.
I know, but it's just saying,
I'm just saying, it wouldn't be past Marvel to call Kate Blanchett to literally record a single scream.
Well, it's probably when she was recording for her episode, they probably said, "Hey, this is for the Avengers episode." Ah!
Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just love how it goes wrong. The sky opens with this green glow, and
Loki.
Kate Blanchett gets sucked into it.
Or the other thing is Enchantress.
Yeah.
She's known for her magic being green.
And I love how first Loki gets sucked up, and Sir Nicholas Fury goes, "Carter, you're up." And she takes a rope and she ties it to part of the globe, and then she goes ahead and jumps up there to try to get Loki.
She lassoed Loki.
Oh, did she lasso?
When she goes after the queen is when she ties the rope to herself.
Okay, yeah. I had the two confused. But yeah, she goes ahead and saves Loki, and he makes some stupid remark in her arms, and she drops him on the ground. And then she has to go back up to try to save Hela, and she almost has Hela saved, and then Hela gets pulled in.
Yeah.
And Thor is unimpressed.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody bows the knee to the new King Thor Odinson.
Yeah.
He blames Captain Carter. He doesn't blame the issue, like the big, huge ball of green energy in the sky.
Well, I get why he blamed her, because Wanda used her powers to bring her there to fix it. Like, she was the person that she pulled through time to fix it, and it's been weeks, and she hasn't been able to fix it.
That being said, that's kind of like hiring an electrician to fix an undiagnosed electrical issue in your house, and then blaming the electrician when all of a sudden your water doesn't work. It's like, yeah, I get it. I'm here to fix a job, but just because something happens doesn't mean it's my fault.
Well, no, she was there to fix the rift problem, and she's not fixing the rift problem. That means you're hiring an electrician to fix the electrical, and he doesn't fix the electrical.
But how come the wizard, Wanda Merlin, isn't the one who should be fixing the issue with the portal?
Because her powers tell her that Carter is the one to fix it.
And she does, eventually, when given the actual proper technology.
But obviously people have been disappearing on them, and that's probably why. So I understand again, this is also a Thor that's not his right thinking Thor. This is a Thor of 1602. His brain's a mess with, and he thinks it's 1602. So he doesn't have the proper knowledge in his head.
We then see a chase scene with Captain Carter running through the streets of 1602 London. Mm-hmm. And she finally gets away, and we hear the narration of the Watcher talking about her running away. But not only do we hear the narration of the Watcher, she hears the narration of the Watcher.
Well, she says, I can hear you, and I'm like, what the fuck? That was so. And then he's like, "Can you always hear me?" No, only sometimes.
Yeah, I love the idea that she just has a conversation with the Watcher. Yeah, she just literally starts talking. Like, they start talking, and he's like, "Look, universes die every day. Hundreds of universes die. I've seen 1,000 die." And he's like, "Just come with me. I'll take you home." She's like, "No. I'm here to fix this. I'm gonna fix this." And he's like, "But what if you can't? What if you don't even understand what the problem is?" And she starts pouting scientific mumbo jumbo, and he's like, "Oh, You do understand the problem. Okay, and he just disappears.
Yeah, and he's like, well, yeah, go fix it then, I guess, is like pretty much how he does, man.
It's just fantastic. But she explains that the troubles are that the early 1600s and the early 21st century are stuck together. Like two sides of the same coin, essentially.
Enchantress.
But no Enchantress.
No. That's all I could think was, like, Enchantress or something. I was like, huh. Is she doing this? Because I saw the green light. I'm like, is it her? Is it her? But no.
Thor continues to tell his people, which is Sir Nicholas Fury and Happy Hogan, to make sure that they find Peggy, because he's still under the impression that she's the cause of the destruction, because she was the one who was brought in to fix it. Wanda corrects him by saying, there's someone else, a lost traveler out there, unaware that it's their very presence in 1602 that's causing our world to collapse. At this point, who did you think it was? Because we hadn't seen a lot of the characters in this episode. At this point, it was Thor, Hogan, Fury, and Wanda, and Captain Carter. Those were the five that we had seen.
My brain kept yelling Enchantress because it was the green light, man. It got me.
But then Peggy goes to see her good friend, and she always does, and everything we've ever seen with Peggy.
Oh, sorry, not Enchantress. No, sorry, I'm thinking of DC. What's the
Sylvie? No, Enchantress is the right character.
No, that's a DC. That's a DC character.
No, it's Marvel.
No, Enchantress is DC. I can't remember what's
Enchantress is also Marvel.
Really? No.
Sylvie is a version of Enchantress. Is a version of the Enchantress. Yes.
No, who are we talking about though? The other day.
Morgan Le Fay.
Morgan Le Fay. That's who I keep thinking, but I got the wrong name. I apologize. I meant Morgan. Okay. I mean Morgan.
Well, the funny thing is Enchantress makes a whole lot of sense because she's a magical being who uses green energy as her thing.
Yeah, but that's a DC Comics character.
Well, that Enchantress was part of the Suicide
Squad. I get Enchantress confused with Morgan Le Fay. I apologize, everybody. My brain did not want to work there.
It's all good.
Yeah,
you've been watching a lot of Japanese wrestling today. We'll talk about more of that more later.
I still got 2 more matches to watch too. So
Peggy goes to visit her good friend, the man who she always visits in time of crisis in all of her episodes. She goes to visit Tony Stark, or A Stark. Normally it's Howard. This time it's Tony. And he is in love and fascinated with Peggy. Not so much with her as a person, but with the funny words that she keeps using. Her, as he calls it, the made-up words. As she talks to him about science. And she pulls out, again, just things that make you feel good from Steve's list. We heard about Star Wars in her other episode, in the Winter Soldier one, which is directly from the list that Steve has in Winter Soldier. We also see another item from that list, which is Back to the Future. And he says, she says flux capacitor. And I really thought yeah. I loved this Tony Stark. It says Tony Stark. Tony Stark. It was fantastic.
Tony Stark, yeah. Tony Stark.
Tony Stank. Mr. Stank. But no, they say that,
Tony Stank.
Yeah.
Fucking miss Stan.
But Tony says he can create a device to go ahead and find out who this mystery person is that's causing all of these issues. Mm-hmm. However, it's going to take an awful lot of energy, more energy than anything else in 1602. Peggy goes, I know what'll do it. I just got to try to find a way to get it, because it's Thor's scepter. But Thor's scepter here is green and not blue.
Well, it's time stone.
Yes, but in all other Marvel things, Loki's spear that Loki has is just
but it had the mind stone in it. This one has the time stone in it. Yeah,
I agree. I'm just saying it was a convenient thing. It was the first of our. It was the next hint in the line that is going to be something time stone related.
And that's when I kind of realized, and I thought about the scepter, and I'm like, oh, it's a fucking time stone. That's what the green energy is. And that's where the Morgan Le Fay thought went away for me. And I'm like, okay, it's not Morgan Le Fay. because this is the time stone fucking with shit. Well, who the fuck is it? And I had no idea till the end, till they revealed it. Well, it was kind of obvious who it was going to be, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah. I'll be honest,
obvious.
I still didn't think it was going to be him. But of course I should have known, because they can't have any happy endings, and that'll probably give you all that haven't watched it a little bit.
Well, I was feeling like maybe it might be like Loki, just because he's in the background the whole time. It's just him fucking with shit from the background, or it's Thor not realizing it. But like once they did the love story, it was kind of obvious that it was like, oh, this love story only works in one universe.
Yep. But she says that she has to find the right thief for the job to steal the scepter. And when asking about the right thief, we see Loki talking about a new play that Bill has written.
Iago.
He calls him Bill. He talks about Iago. For those that are confused as to what play would have Iago that would be written by Bill,
Othello.
Othello by William Shakespeare. Where, of course, Loki of all people, would think Iago is the star of this play.
You would think that. He would think that, too. He's such a narcissist.
It's so great. Oh, it is. It's such loveliness. It isn't. He will continue. For those that remember the Thanos of it all, when Thanos kept mentioning in the T'Challa's a better Star-Lord than Star-Lord episode, where he talks about how his plan was good because it was just random. 50% of people randomly would die as opposed to being chosen, which is what makes it different from just being genocide. Because the difference in genocide is you just kill people. You choose who you kill and you kill people. Versus Thanos' idea of random death. You just snap your fingers, half the world dies, and that's okay. Because it's random, nobody's choosing it.
Yeah.
But in this episode, we have the right thief for the job. Who's going ahead to rob Loki's carriage? It's three wonderful people. It is, of course, Paul Rudd, playing himself as Scott Lang again.
Well, it makes sense. It that Ant-Man would be one of the thieves. It just made sense.
I was not expecting Robin Hood himself to be none other than Steven Rogers.
Steve, what was he? What was he being called by Happy Hogan? Rogers Hood, or something like that.
Roger, something weird. So I love Happy Hogan in this for the fight scene with the Hulk, where he just starts throwing out random 1602-ish like cliche lines that are like, there were some really good ones. I didn't write any of them down, but yes,
and
we find out, and Bucky, of course. If there's a Steve Rogers anywhere, there's a Bucky nearby.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a Bucky nearby. But Peggy finds them, and she finds out that in this universe, he has lost his maid Margaret. His love is dead. There is no Peggy. And for a moment, she's excited.
Yeah.
She's like, oh no, it was terrible. But you see how excited she is, and she even gets excited. She's like, oh, really? And she's all happy, and then she realizes she has to be upset that the love of his life is gone. Because there's a Steve Rogers here, a grown Captain America version Steve Rogers for her to love right here.
Yeah, and then there's a little side shit going on. So, like, Bucky's robbing all the money from Loki, and Paul Rudd's like, "Ooh, I found a cake." He finds a chocolate cake, and he starts and then Bucky goes, "We're here for the coin, not food or cake or something." And Paul Rudd and Ant-Man goes, "You might be," and he just takes, and then like a couple of scenes later, he's got like an armful of eclairs and shit. It was it made me, oh my god, it was a highlight of this goddamn episode where the Ant-Man's just quips, man. Here, it was so good.
So they go off, the four of them, to talk about the job of stealing the staff.
Yeah.
But as they're reminiscing about the respective losses of their loved ones, Steve asks Peggy about her version of Steve. And she's unable to talk about him. And she says a wonderful callback line. And this is why I love Marvel. And this is This is the reason why the Kihori episode, as beautiful as it was, is a little bit less than some of the rest. Because you get to pull out a line right here where she goes, "No, I don't think I will." Which is an exact callback to the end of Endgame, where old Steve is talking to Falcon, and Falcon asks him about the ring and the girl he went back and spent his time with. You gonna tell me about her? No, I don't think I will.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just love the little callbacks to it. Just and all the little references to what they do. I love it so much.
We then see little ant things come through the window to turn into grown, full-size, sword-wielding men. And
Yellow
we find
Jacket.
out. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
Because they aren't Ant-Men, they are indeed Yellow Jackets. They are under the control. They are the army under the control of Thor and the happiest of Hogans.
Sir Happy Hogan.
And the Yellow Jackets fight Rogers and his merry men until Happy sends the old-fashioned destroyer in. Mm-hmm. And again, there's a cute little scene where Ant-Man's flying around as a little ant. And all of a sudden, he starts taunting the destroyer and realizes this is a very bad idea and barely gets out of the way before the destroyer blasts him with fire from his eyes.
Yeah, dude, that was great. Yeah.
But all of this, it just continues, and there's fantastic stuff. And we're not going to tell you all the things. But I like to go through beat by beat on some of these that are really great. But a lot of this, I just want you to watch. And if you have watched it, just talk about your favorite portions of this. But let's skip to the end. Let's skip to the battle. So they figure out their plan. They figure out what they're going to do to get the scepter. And you have all of the characters in the same place at the same time.
Well, Pink has to get captured to get Hulk out of the jail. That was in between the battles. So
and by the way, we do have the Hulk as the man in the iron mask.
That was so good.
Chef's kiss on that one. Fantastic. So perfect to have a sedated Bruce Banner version, non-Hulked. Mark Ruffalo playing the man in the iron mask.
That was so good.
Which is a callback to a book written in the mid-1800s by Alexander Dumas. But I love it because the funny thing is so much of this, the things that they reference and the things that they use in this episode are all pre-1600s, with the exception of the man in the iron mask. That is one of the few.
And Ant-Man's shrinking power.
Yes, but I'm talking about things that are outdated from nowadays, things that aren't modern technology. Yeah. Like they have a microscope in this, as Tony Stark's working with a microscope, which did exist in some form or fashion at the time. In the time of the Renaissance in 1602, a version of the microscope did exist.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it was made in like the late 1500s. I want to say it was like 1580, 1590. I believe the first microscope was in. But they're waiting for the signal for everything to start. And Steve asks Peggy, "What's the signal?" And she goes, "I don't know. Stark told me we'd know it when we see it." And all of a sudden, Hulk comes barging through the door. He's throwing dudes around and he's yelling, "Signal! Signal!"
Oh, God.
And Peggy and Steve just look at each other and I go, "I guess that's the signal."
Mm-hmm. And everybody goes into battle.
And it's fantastic. And it's so great to watch this battle. And there's so many little things that you can see. You see Tony Stark tiptoeing with his thing, trying to make sure it doesn't get destroyed as he's trying to get it there because he still needs his power source to find out who the Forerunner is, to find out who's the one causing all of the chaos. At this point, Happy Hogan turns into the Freak, and we get the Freak versus the Hulk. And at one point, the Hulk throws Happy Hogan into the corner of this chapel into an organ. And Happy Hogan grabs this pipe organ and throws it back at the Hulk and says, and I can't believe this was in there, the pipes are calling you." Oh,
So good.
If you haven't watched this, I apologize for ruining this for you. Please go and watch this. It is absolutely sensational. This whole thing is sensational.
Mm-hmm.
This battle is fun and frantic. There are so many little battles going on. You have the Scarlet Witch the entire time. They give a plot reason why she's not in the battle. That she's trying to hold off the whole of green energy in the ceiling. Which I think is great, because how many times do we have these scenes where one of the heroes is super powered and they give us no reason why they're not involved in the battle?
It works. It works. It really does. And then the battle between Thor and Captain Carter was pretty goddamn awesome.
It was indeed. But, also we should mention, Thor has a vibranium sword.
A present from the King of Wakanda.
In 16, which, by the way, did exist in 1602. And I love the name of the sword. The All-Father.
Makes sense.
It makes perfect sense that he would name it the All-Father.
Mm-hmm.
However, finally, at this point, everything's flip-flops. Because Happy Hogan in his side and Thor in his side are double-crossed. Because Scarlet Witch and Fury realize that they need the help of these other people in order to save this universe. Mm-hmm. To stop what's going on, they need these people's help because these people are right. And Fury takes the scepter, and Scarlet Witch puts one hand up to hold the energy beam in place and uses the other hand to hold Thor in place. Proving just how strong the Scarlet Witch is. Think about this. A god. It's a small G. It's a small Marvel G. This isn't a god like a capital Marvel G. God. Because for those that don't understand what I'm talking about, there are capital G gods, which are the official Marvel gods. And then there are beings that are considered gods, and it's lowercase g.
Ones who can die, essentially.
Loki, Odin, Hela, even people like all of the gods in Thor 4.
Yeah.
All of those gods are lowercase g gods.
Yep.
The pantheon of gods that we would know and love in real world. The pantheon of gods that we know of in Greek mythology, in Norse mythology. All of those gods. They're all lowercase gods. The God Butcher. The God Butcher is a lowercase g God Butcher. He doesn't butcher gods. He butchers gods. Small g. The uppercase G gods is meant for the one above all, the living tribunal, the celestials, Ego, who is a celestial but has to be in his own category. Nowhere, the floating head of Nowhere is technically, because it's a floating head of a celestial.
Thor is a lowercase god.
Yeah. But the power to be able to contain a lowercase god, like even then, it's fantastic. So there are differences between uppercase gods and lowercase gods. And it's important to know because in Marvel lore, that is an important thing. But they finally get the stone into Tony Stark's machine, and Captain Carter, and again, thank you for Eric Voss. Thank you, Eric Voss and you Rockstars for this. She puts both of her hands into this box. And it reminisces Iron Man 2 with the Mark V armor, with the briefcase armor, where he pulls it up and puts it on. She puts her hands all the way in and pulls it up. And this stops time. Everything around them stops. And only the characters displaced from time can move. And we see one figure glowing in green. And of course, it wouldn't be a Steve Rogers and Captain Carter storyline without them not being able to be together, as it's Steve Rogers is the one who's out of time. Because of course, the man out of time would always be the man referred to as the man out of time, Steve Rogers. Like, it is the most obvious person But they did a very good job of telling us it was him and hiding the fact that it was him.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing green the entire episode. They're telling us it's him, all with all the green imagery. But for some reason, we still don't think of a man out of time as Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
And he is the original man out of time from the 1602 comic run written by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
So it is one of the few things that they did take and keep in place. And we find out that this is a Steve Rogers who fought Thanos. Just like our Steve Rogers fought Thanos.
It's literally our main timeline endgame.
No, it's not. Eric Voss noticed a small change in the two timelines. There is a minute change in the two timelines. In the original timeline, when Steve fights Thanos, he does not yet have the Mind Stone.
I mean, Time Stone.
No, Mind. He got the Time Stone from Strange on Titan, and then came to Wakanda to get the Mind Stone from Vision. In this, you can see the glow of the yellow Time Stone at the very bottom of the screen. Eric Voss literally pauses the shot and has a circle around it. You can see the Mind Stone there. The only difference is in this world, there's either a second fight or Thanos had the Mind Stone earlier in his combatants. It could also just be a small error in the way that they colored the picture.
Yeah. Again,
however, it's a slight difference. But in this battle, just like in the episode before, where Surtur destroys the Tesseract with his sword, in this episode, Steve Rogers nicks the Time Stone with his vibranium shield gauntlets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what causes him to become out of time. And I think that's great. It's a perfect wrap-up to this episode.
Okay, so before we get to as we get to the post-credit, right? So everybody disappears. Like, they all transported away because they fixed the guy out of time, so everybody else gets sent back to their rightful timeline. Mm-hmm. Except for Peggy, because she wasn't brought there by the time displacement. She was brought there by Wanda Merlin. So she's sitting in the bar. But before we get to actually what happens here, why the fuck didn't the Watcher just come to her straight after the battle and be like, all right, time to go home? Hasn't he been watching, and he already told her he has the ability to put her back? Why didn't
he's come twice? Yeah. He's come twice. I think the rationale reason I have is the Watcher was waiting for her because she's made it very clear that she's not leaving until she's ready.
Okay, but again, I still looked at it as like, why wouldn't he just show up on the battlefield after, when she's all left alone there, standing in this giant hall? Why wouldn't he show up and just be like, all right, time to go home? But
I think part of it is because he can see beyond what's going on, and at this point, the one thing the Watcher kept mentioning in all of his things is that this time was in danger. The timeline was in danger, and he didn't want her caught in a time where it would die. At this point, everything's been fixed, and it's no longer in danger, and the Watcher's less worried about her.
Yeah,
because Wanda could theoretically bring her back.
Yeah, but
if Wanda's still there.
I just purely look at it as a narrative fuck up. I don't believe any of that. I just believe Marvel fucked up and just ignored that the Watcher was watching. That's what I believe.
Maybe Strange Supreme kept the Watcher out. Maybe they have a conversation that we don't know about. There is a 9th episode. Let's wait and see what happens.
We'll find out.
Because as you say, she's stuck there. She's in the tavern. She's drowning her sorrows. But she's not alone for long. Strange Supreme, Benedict Cumberbatch, shows up.
Well, she thinks it's the Watcher showing up.
She does. She even tells him the Watcher. She's like, it's about time.
Yeah.
But it's Strange Supreme. And he says that he's come to ask her for help. And we have the to be continued.
Yeah. The fact is to be continued made me go, yes! I'm very excited to see what's coming tomorrow.
Yeah. And that episode will be coming to you midday. We will be going ahead and recording that early in the afternoon for us. So it'll be coming out for everyone midday.
Because I'm busy as shit tomorrow. I've got recordings with Mel in the morning, got to record with you midday, then I'm going to hang out with Mel and a bunch of other people to watch AEW in the evening. And then the next morning I can't record because I've got to do my interview with Walker Stewart. So I have a lot to do over the next couple of days.
Meanwhile, we want you to go ahead and check out all of our episodes on the YouTube channel. These have been doing fantastic. We want to thank each and every one of you for watching these. We greatly appreciate it. If you could, make sure you give us a like. And if you can, give us a comment. Tell us the things you like about these reviews. Tell us the things you don't like. Give us some constructive criticism. Help us make Marvel Talk more interesting for all of you. We greatly appreciate it. The other episodes that we've already had so far. What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? What if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes?
Yay.
What if Happy Hogan saved Christmas?
Big yay.
What if Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master?
Yay.
What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper?
Big yay.
What if Kaori reshaped the world?
Kinda yay.
What if Hela found the 10 rings?
Eh.
What if the Avengers assembled in 1602?
Woot woot!
And of course, tomorrow, what if Strange Supreme intervened?
Dude, I can't wait for tomorrow's episode, man.
We'll be back tomorrow afternoon. It'll be live on the YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead and go first today so we can let Andre finish with all the wonderful things he has going on. You can catch me, Ed Fries, on Twitter at EdFries12584. You can catch me on the Twitch, where I simulcast all of my content with our local establishment if it's live on the Twitch. It has EdFries2002. You can go ahead and subscribe to me there to help me upgrade some of this equipment so that I can get better and better. You can also find me every Tuesday night with Astrid Pizarro. We talk all things NXT. We finally have the graphic for New Year's Evil already. We have a graphic ready for New Year's Evil, so we'll be showing that this Tuesday night. It'll be fantastic. We can't wait. Ashton is still feeling under the weather, but should be ready come Tuesday night. As Von Wagner would say, come Tuesday.
I'm not available.
You can always catch all of my episodes with Andre. There'll be, at the very end of this episode, there'll be a playlist that has all of our episodes of Marvel Talk. We've got Echo coming up in the new year. We've got the MCU Rebounds continuing in the new year. All kinds of great stuff going on. Andre, tell the good people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at That Canada Guy and other social medias with that same handle. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at That Canada Dude with that same handle on other social medias. You can find me always on Facebook at Andre Melville Wrestling Talk, which is the home we love talking to you at. For our home over on YouTube, youtube.com/at Andre Melville Wrestling Talk. We have our shows NJPW Poodle Wrestling Review, Stardom Review, and Chop Talk. Please check those out. We will be having a Stardom Review coming out on later in the day on December 31st, or on December 30th, as we're going to be reviewing the Dream Queendom show, which I am almost done watching. Yay! And then we will be back on the 1st January with our interview with Walker Stewart, previewing the Wrestle Kingdom show, just having a good chat, talking about him about his experiences so far in New Japan and everything else we can possibly think to talk about him with. And then on January 5th or 6th, we will have our Wrestle Kingdom review coming out. Please check that out all over at youtube.com/at Andre Melville Wrestling Talk. But if you want to hear those in audio form into your sweet earlobes, you can listen over at SNME Radio. Check them out at SNME Radio or SundayNightMainEventRadio.com. Check them out.
Yeah, you can go ahead and put it in your ear holes, as they say in the first season of What If.
And one more thing. Starting in the new year, you will be getting kind of weekly wrestling wrap-ups from me and Mel talking Japanese professional wrestling. As long as there's something to talk about in the week, we're going to talk about it. So check that out over on OLE in the new year.
Until then, and the next time, we will see you next time. Goodbye.